And of course, Arizona State is going to be going to the Big 12 next year as a part of conference realignment. So, speaking of conference realignment, there's a team out there that I wonder how come I haven't heard their name yet. So, we talked about the ACC, Stanford, Cal, SMU, potentially just Stanford, bringing in the West Coast when there's schools nearby who wouldn't cost as much, that would also give FSU and Clemson the money that they're looking for potentially, just from the standpoint of the unequal revenue share. So, Tulane's been thrown out there. We've heard Rice back in the Pac-12 conversation, but there's a school that has been to 3 Final Fours that is in the American Conference, that is right in ACC territory. And depending on how you want to look at it, with West Virginia being in the Big 12, you could argue that they're in Big 12 territory as well. That be the Memphis Tigers. Like I said, they've been to 3 Final Fours over the course of their history. They have FedEx money, the FedEx Forum as well is where they play their basketball games. Their stadium, the Liberty Bowl, or I guess Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium now, as of last year, sat over 58,000. So if they were in the ACC right now, they would be 8th in stadium size, ahead of Georgia Tech, North Carolina, NC State, Syracuse, Wake, BC, Wake and BC. So if they were in the Big 12, they would be 4th. They would be 4th, bigger than Cincinnati, TCU, Baylor, Kansas, Kansas State, Colorado, the Arizona schools in Utah. So why hasn't Memphis got the call? Now, when I look back at football, going back the last 10 years, Memphis has an 81-47 record in football. And obviously that's where Mike Norvell came from to FSU. Houston in that same time period, 80-46. Now, UCF and Cincinnati were better, 86-41 and 88-41 respectively. But same ballpark. Memphis is also in SEC territory. So you come into the state of Tennessee, get around that Georgia area, maybe you start getting some recruits that you weren't necessarily getting if you're the Big 12 per se, touching 620,000 households. Basketball, star power. Penny Hardaway is their coach. And then, like I said, 3 Final Fours in their history. So if you look back to more recent history, Memphis's last Final Four was the epic national title game against Kansas back in 2008. Houston in 2021. UCF has never made one. Cincinnati not since 1992. So why is Memphis not in these conversations? Now you could argue Louisiana has more talent than Tennessee. So, there's your Tulane, Texas, obviously with SMU, and then you got your whole TV market size, because Memphis is mid, they're number 51. So I can understand that. They're a tier 1 research university. So for all you academias out there and you snobs like Cal and Stanford, they're a little closer to that than some of these other schools. So it just makes me wonder, how a school with 14 basketball conference titles, 12 conference tournament titles in their history, and who football-wise in this NIL era with FedEx in their back pocket. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be Oregon with Phil Knight money. I'm not saying they're going to be Under Armour with Maryland. I'm just saying, why do they not have a seat at the table? Let me know.